Hi there, good to see you again. Let's see, today's project, we're going to do something simple for children. Um, it's called a tattooed painted rock. And I don't know if you can see the rock close up. This one has a mermaid on it. I use the tattoos that you get from like the 99-cent store or any place where they sell kids temporary tattoos. You want to get the colorful ones, the ones that'll show up well on a colored rock. Sometimes they're colorful enough you can even use them on a blank rock. Anyway, let's get started. I'll tell you what supplies you need, and this is great for the whole family actually. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, here I have my soapy water for when we get to the sealer stage. Here I have just plain water in this cup. I have a little water and a sponge, just a little sponge that you get from the 99-cent store. You can get a whole pack of, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them. They work really well because they're small and they fit right in the palm of your hand and cover most rocks well with water and pressure. Anyway, I have a Sharpie gold metallic permanent marker here. I just got some of these metallics and I absolutely love them. And we have a Express Yourself painter's marker in baby blue with a medium tip. We have Mod Podge. We have Apple Barrel China Blue. I get these at Walmart for about 50 cents, or actually exactly 50 cents. And this is number 21483E. Okay, and then these two, excuse me, are the Extreme Glitters by Folk Art, and they're also at Walmart. This one is 28823 Robin's Egg Blue, and then we have Emerald, product number 2794E. These are wonderful. I like how they have a hint of color, but when they dry, it's pretty much just the glitter that shows, and you can get them in all different colors. They're a little bit more, maybe $1.97, something like that. And then of course here's our tattoo we're going to use for today. It's different than the one I used on the other rock, but it's still a mermaid, and it's a little bigger, but I'll show you how to do the preparation before the tattoo, and then we just seal it with the Mod Podge, add the glitter, and we're all finished. Okay, so let's get started. I have a base coated rock with the China Blue to start with. Let me move some of this stuff out of my way and we'll get started. Okay, so you can base coat a rock, you can use the China Blue or you can use any light blue, and I suggest 1 to 2 base coats. If you want to paint the whole rock, you can. I didn't in this case, just for the demonstration and for time purposes. So anyway, okay, so I've got my base coated rock, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my squared off, and you see this squared off, kind of a small square paintbrush, and I'm going to put my seaweed on with our Emerald Glitter, Extreme Glitter. Squirt a little out there, and you want to dip just the tip of the brush, so straight up and down, just the tip of the brush, just get kind of a glob on there. And I'm just going to go like in a V shape toward the bottom, then a couple up, and then another V shape, almost like a stem with leaves, and I just kind of gob it on there like that, just to give something besides the tattoo, like a background scene. Okay, I do that on one side and then the other. Keeping your brush upright at all times so that it gives the appearance of a plant or seaweed. And of course, if I wasn't doing a mermaid rock, I would do a different kind of scene. Okay, so we have that on. Then while that's drying, and be careful not to get your Sharpie metallic marker in the paint, I just make little dots all around like I'm making a sand bottom. And I'll just dot over and over and over until I get as many dots as I want. It starts to have the appearance of the bottom of the ocean. I don't know if you can see this very well. And you know, I have the bronze also, the copper, you know, all the metallic Sharpie markers. And you can blend them also, you know, do gold dots, then bronze dots, and it kind of makes it look like grains of sand. And they come in real handy for that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, and we'll just let that dry. Okay, our rock is dry, and we're going to proceed with putting on a couple more things before we do our tattoo. Right now, I'm going to use the painter's marker, light baby blue, and I'm just going to lightly, let me get this started, shake it up a little. Alright, I'm just going to put some kind of little ocean waves in here. To just go across the rock and in between the plants, just to make it look like water. Ripples. I'm doing it real lightly, not, you know, trying to do a perfect job, just kind of drag it across a little bit. Kind of like that. Okay, and that dries almost right away. Blow on it for a few minutes. Okay, and while we're waiting for that to dry, we'll go ahead and explain the tattoo situation. Okay, so this is the tattoo I'm going to use. It's a little bit big, but it was the only other mermaid I had right now. These came from the dollar store. They sort of have a sparkle glitter on them, and so they're really pretty. And but I do suggest that once you find the tattoo you want, you cut around it so that you can place it on your rock for, you know, just to see what your placement's going to be. Especially if you have a big tattoo and a little rock, which I have today. So I'm going to leave some of the white paper, just get it kind of closer than it was around the target object. Okay, so we have that now. Okay, now some of these, well, most of the ones I've used, and I'm kind of new at these temporary tattoos, they have a film on them, a clear film. You want to peel this film back and expose the tattoo. You're going to notice they're sticky on the picture. Be careful not to get it stuck to your finger. You might lose part of your tattoo. Anyway, so now we're going to find a placement on the rock. Oh, and by the way, if you turn it to the back before you take your sticky off, you can kind of see how it's going to go, because this way her hair goes to the left. When I place it on the rock, it's going to go to the right, or if there's writing like her name. Can't make it out there, but you could make it out there. It says Maddie. Okay, so we're going to place it. Don't want to stick it down until you're sure where you want to put it. I think about right there. So just place it with one finger until it sticks. Then you want to come in here and really get the edges, smooth them all out, kind of let it follow the flow of the rock. Sometimes it'll get a little wrinkly, so, and you can't always get all the wrinkles out. especially if it's a more rounded rock. These are ideal for your flat top rocks. But if there's a little curve, usually they still work out pretty good, but I can't guarantee that. Also, once we get this on here and we start to wet it with our sponge and water, you want your rock to be very dry, number one, because it can lift the paint, smear the paint, something like that, and ruin the whole project. Another thing you got to watch for is just sometimes you get in a hurry, or you think it looks like the water has released the tattoo from the paper, and you find out you're wrong. Or it releases half of the tattoo and the other half wasn't done yet. So do not be in a hurry, be patient, tell the kids to wait. Okay, we've got that affixed on there pretty good, I think. Now we're going to take a little sponge and get the soft part of the sponge. Not saturated till it's dripping, but, and you want to just start dabbing the water on. You don't want to soak and saturate the whole rock, but you do want to saturate the tattoo. But start out with a little at a time, and you can add more. And then you'll start to see the color of the tattoo as it gets saturated. And it'll give you a better idea of how it's placed and everything. Now I would suggest, after you let that soak for a minute, and what I find works best is to just, I dab off the dripping water on a towel, but I leave enough on there to keep it moist. And now I'm just going to put pressure and hold it over the rock like so for about 30 seconds. You know, some tattoos work better than others, and but I do suggest that if you are going to use some colorful tattoos, now I tried them on blank rocks. That means rocks that have not been base coated at all, because I like the natural rock, or because I'm in a hurry and want to make a lot of rocks for kids fast, you know, to give out at parties or what have you. And a lot of the tattoos, unless they're bright and colorful, they just really don't show up. And so sometimes I have to doll them up with some paint pens or something like that. So I suggest, though, if you really want it to show up well, or you want to put a background in like we did here, you know, some seaweed, some sand, some seashells, or whatever, mountains, trees, whatever you're doing, that you do base coat the rock a nice light color, you know, maybe a pastel, can be pink, blue, whatever you want. If you're doing an ocean scene, you know, maybe blues and greens. If you're doing, you know, it just depends on what you're doing and what your taste is. Okay, so we've held that on. I'm going to just lightly rub the paper in the middle up and down and see if it's sliding. If it's not sliding yet, it's not ready yet. So I'm going to get some more water on my brush, dab it off, I mean not my brush, my sponge, and dab it off on my towel a little bit so it's not dripping all over the rock, and I'm going to hold it a little longer. And when it does start to slide and move, you don't want to do it too quickly, because you might lose an arm, a leg, a head, a hand, some hair, or something like that. So you want to make sure the whole thing is ready to slide off. I know it's not rocket science, but it's pretty new to me. I don't have any small children at home anymore, so temporary tattoos hasn't been my forte lately, but I'm starting to find that they can make some beautiful rocks. They're inexpensive, they're fun for the kids, and they can tattoo themselves while they're tattooing their rocks. Alright, let's see how it is now. Okay, still not budging. This one's a toughie. I'm going to wet it a little bit all over the top. Maybe the sponge being on top is soaking up all the water. I was hoping to just keep the moisture in, keep it wet. Also, it's possible that if you put too much paint on your background scene, like I kind of did on my seaweed. I kind of blobbed it on there a little bit. It looks nice, but the tattoo has to adhere over the top of the paint as well, so sometimes it doesn't want to slide over those bumps and hills. Excuse me. Okay, I think it's ready. Very gently, very gently. And there we have it. Worked out great. Can you see that? Very nice. Now I let this dry, and once it's dry, I'm going to put a little bit of this Extreme Glitter Robin's Egg Blue that I got at Walmart over the top. And that's going to give a sparkle to the water and make it oh so pretty. Okay, our tattooed mermaid is dry. So now I'm going to just take a sponge brush and some of the Extreme Glitter Robin's Egg Blue. And like I said, this, when it's dry, it's pretty clear, but it does have a hint of color, and that's why sometimes I use the green emerald, sometimes I use the yellow, which I don't have pictured here today. And I'll just sponge brush it. See, it looks pretty dark when you put it on, but it really does dry clear, almost clear. And you could put a little bit of water with it as well, just to kind of water it out if you don't want too much tint of color or hint of color, and you want it more just sparkle. But trust me, you just got to play with it and find out what you like. I know the more you put on, the more glitter you get. So, but even if you water it down a little, it gives a little sparkle. And kids like sparkle. I mean, I like sparkle. Okay. Sides done. And if you are going to water it down, make sure your rock is really, really dry. And you can just sponge it like this too. You don't have to, paint it or rub it. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll come back. Okay, so our rock's pretty dry. I probably put on just a little bit too much glitter, and maybe it has actually, on top of the light blue, it has more tint than I thought. Now, if I use the yellow or green, I don't seem to have that. So I think I put it on pretty thick, maybe go a little lighter next time. Also, like I said, make sure your rock is dry, and to wash the brushes when you're using glitter or Mod Podge or any sealer, you want to make sure and use the soapy water. Just like a drop of dish soap with some warm soapy water. It won't stay warm, but at least it gets all the goo and the glitter out of your brushes, so that when you go to use them for your regular painting, you don't have. I know many of you, like me, probably have had brushes. You're painting the night before, you wake up, go to get your favorite paintbrush, and it's all glued together. So that's another reason I have two waters here. One is soapy water for sealers and glitters, the other one is plain water. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use our Mod Podge here, and we're going to put a light coat, and I suggest a paintbrush for this. And try not to, rub it too much, put it on liberally, and just get it on there. We don't want to lift the paint or the tattoo. So I'll squirt out a little bit and get my brush for this instead. Make sure also that you wash the soapy water out of your brush before you start with your paint, or you'll have soapy paint or soapy glitter or whatever it is you're going to use next. Okay, so this is what we have so far. The glitter doesn't show up too well, but it will in better sunlight. It's probably still just, you know, a tiny bit damp. So I'm going to be real careful here. Just for the purpose of the video, I'm trying to get this done, but normally I would wait longer for it to dry, you know, maybe half hour, hour, depending on the humidity level and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm in California and it's pretty warm out here, and with high humidity on some days and some scorching hot days. So you just want to get a little bit on there to cover the top of the rock. And of course later on you can go ahead and do the back of the rock and seal it completely. I'm going to wash off in my soapy water, and while we're waiting we'll put them side by side. This was the sample rock, and this is the one that we did today. They're similar but different, and you know, each one is one of a kind. So you're never going to have the exact same results, and sometimes you just have to play around with these things and experiment and find out what works for you, what products you like the best. And anyway, but this is pretty much what I use when I do the tattooed rocks. Okay, here's our finished rock. And here's our demo rock that we started with. Anyway, thanks you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.